Hello and welcome, tacticians. We have just finished the event to collect the last of the Adeptus Custodes, so I intend to go through what's left and let's try and figure out who the next faction is going to be. As always, thank you to everyone who does support the channel, whether it's through using my friend code or hitting that subscribe button below, as it all really does help out. Okay, so who have we got left? For those of you who know their iconography, this is the full list of, let's say, supported factions that Games Workshop have that have not yet made their way to Tacticus. And I'm going to have a quick look at each one, and maybe some units along the way of the cooler ones, just see who they might bring. So let's start with the Night Lords, and let's be honest, we're not going to have back-to-back Chaos releases. These models are cool. They would look great in Tacticus, and just by looking at these guys, you've got plenty of characters there to bring. They could use the toxic attack. They've got a heavy missile launcher up in the top left there. They have got lots of character, and their whole ethos is to do with stealth and horror attacks, which I think would lead itself very well to having them as a faction in Tacticus. But as I said at the beginning, they're another Chaos faction, and back-to-back Chaos factions I just don't think will ever happen. And speaking of Chaos factions, the second least likely faction in my opinion at the moment, again because of the Emperor's Children, are the Iron Warriors, and these guys have an additional issue. That's because they don't have that many models dedicated to them. I understand that they are a fan favourite though. These guys are the masters of siege warfare, and there is a history between these guys and one of the Imperial factions we'll see in a little bit. But for now, as with the Night Lords, I don't think we're going to have back-to-back Chaos releases, so let's move on to some Imperial factions. The first of them being the Imperial Fists, and this is the faction that has a bit of history with the Iron Warriors. Whereas the Iron Warriors are masters of siege, these guys are the masters of defense. And so you have a nice rivalry between the two. So should one ever come to Tacticus, I reckon there's a higher chance of the other arriving as well. The problem with the Imperial Fists, like the Iron Warriors, is they have very few of their own unique troops, and this is because they don't have their own unique codex either. But the one thing that they do have going for them is the Space Marines have a lot, and I mean a lot, of units to choose from. So even though the Imperial Fists don't have many, which you would call their own, there's a lot there to draw from should they come to Tacticus. And the same could be said for the Iron Hands. Their whole thing is the flesh is weak, and they look to replace parts of their body with bionics. We could see a faction with the Tech Priest here, and obviously other parts of the unused Space Marine range, to help synergize with the AdMech. Not that they need much help, but if they wanted to extend the synergy that was there, these are the guys that they would bring in to give more of that. Carrying on with the Imperial line, we've got the Raven Guard, and Caven Shrike here has just had a new model. But just like the others we've talked about, they don't really have many units to call their own because they're all rolled up into the normal Space Marine Codex. And it's a shame. This guy, I will admit, looks very cool, and I will admit, if they ever have jump packs in the Emperor's Children, I'm buying him and converting him, because I just think he is that cool. Having a whole faction dedicated to them, though, they are the Scout and Stealth sort of Space Marines. There might be enough in there, but again, my hopes are very low for these guys. And then we have the Salamanders, and I know this would be my son's pick that he would want to come to Tacticus. These guys are all about fire, flame, and melter damage. And of course hitting things with that big hammer of his. And pictured here is Adrax Agatone, who's one of the two special characters that they've got for the Salamanders that I can name off the top of my head. The other one obviously being Vulcan. both of which would make great legendary characters. You've then got the Infernus squad, and, well, just add someone in with a melter weapon and you pretty much got the whole 5. But again, we've just finished with the Custodes. Are they really going to do another Imperial faction next? Especially a common Space Marine one. And the final common Space Marine chapter is the White Scars. And again, they've just had a new model for Khosrow Khan. However, their whole thing is about speed, transports and bikes. And I just don't think this would translate well into Tacticus whatsoever, which is a shame. As, well, let's be honest, who doesn't like a motorbike, or even a flying one, for that matter? Now, the chances of the next 2 Imperial factions, I think, are a lot higher. The first one here is the Death Watch. The thing about the Death Watch is they recruit from all the other chapters, and every single character in the Death Watch is pretty much a minor champion, and I could easily see them putting these guys into Tacticus. I would rate these guys coming to Tacticus over any of the other Imperials that we've seen so far. They are kind of similar to the Custodes. As I mentioned, each character in the unit is their own kind of unique sort of champion. And what would be kind of cool would be if Titus could be part of this as well. He was in the Death Watch after all. However, with the recent announcement of 500 worlds, it looks like Titus has had a promotion. So how about an upgrade to him within Tacticus 2, Snowprint? Yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? And finally, we have the Grey Knights. Now, I think this is the most likely Imperial faction to be announced next. Their whole thing is anti-Psyker and anti-Demon, which would certainly help us against some of those guild raids. They've got plenty of models to choose from, and they have their own unique look. We've had the gold from the Custodes, and now we'd have the silverish blue of the Grey Knights. Out of everything that we've seen from the Imperials, this would be my bet. But I still don't think we're going to get an Imperial next. Although, let's be honest, there's far more Imperials than the other factions, so I guess the chances are higher that we'll get an Imperial next. However, I am holding out hope for one of the next 2 factions. And the first faction that I'm hoping for is the Drukhari. They have got an absolutely incredible range of models to pull inspiration from the monstrous Talos and Kronos to the slightly warped and deranged Rax, which you can see in this picture. You've also got the Homunculus, who could act as a healer, and of course, don't forget things like your Mandrakes, who are like this part shadowy, part Drukhari creature that hurls bolts of fire at the enemy. They've got some amazing characters as well, such as Lady Malice, Drazar, or Lilith Hesperax, who'd make a nice counterpoint to Jane Czar. Personally, this is definitely one of the top 2 that I'm hoping, and I can't see why they wouldn't. But as I said, there are a lot of Imperials that they need to get through. And finally, and probably most likely, are the Leagues of Votann. Just think of these guys as your angry space dwarfs, and you're not far wrong. They also have belief that the ancestor robots that work with them are, well, part of the family. They've got a great range, although not a wide range, to pull from, and they have just had a codex released. So I could certainly see these guys being the next ones to come to Tacticus. And to be honest, if they did, I certainly wouldn't be upset. They're a bit Space Marine-y, I'll admit, and in the history, they are actually from human caste who got stuck on a neutron star somewhere, and that's why they're a bit shorter. I'm sure there's people out there who know the backstory better than me, but that's roughly it. They also have some very cool looking character models to pull from. This guy's got a couple of drones that keeps him happy. And of course, who doesn't like someone running across the battlefield for them wielding a massive magma axe? So yes, I believe these guys are the ones that are coming next. I really don't know, so please leave your comments below about who you would like to see and how wrong that you think that I am.